Dr. Stone, hugeoфenhancedathlete.com, here with Coach Trevor, and this is a follow-up video to the other video we did about Trevor's opinion on the best first steroid cycle, and the first steroid cycle which he personally did. The question we didn't answer that I've had a ton of follow-up question is how long was that cycle, or how long should that cycle be? And before you answer, Trevor, this is not medical advice. This is for educational purposes only. Follow your doctor direction when using any of the prescription medications.
It's all personal, but I would say if it's an injectable testosterone, let's say it's what I did, anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks. Now, if you go 16...
That's a big range. 8 to 6, that's 4 months.
And this is why...
2 months to 4 months.
Yeah, this is why if you were to do 16 weeks and you were to run the test at 1 mil, I would probably recommend at some point trying increasing it to the 2 mil. But my personal recommendation would be about 10 to 12 weeks off the 1 mil. And this way, you'll get the full benefit. And it's not so much that when you come off, you're going to lose all your gains. You know, if you do a PCT, it's not going to take much to come back to normal. It was such a light cycle. You do that, you're going to keep all your gains, and you're still going to be primed for another cycle. You could literally do a cycle back to back at that. But then you got your base foundation, you know how you respond to it, and then like I was talking about previously, that's when you would add another compound and you start learning different compounds, and you see how your body reacts to each compound. And that's what personally I would do. And probably 10, 12 weeks would be the max.
All right, so the theory going around, I think, on the internet mostly now is that the body responds to a steroid for about 8 weeks and then it starts really plateauing. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of switching compounds. So what about going 8 weeks off 250 milligrams and then at that point increasing it to 2 ml?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If you're 8 to 16 weeks, at some point I would change it to the 2 mils. And then, because about 8 weeks, yeah, you do. What it is you want to change your anabolic roughly every 6 to 8 weeks, because after 6 weeks, the full effects start to die down, and then you need to increase the dose. After 8 weeks, then you start wearing those receptors out, is what it tends to happen. Roughly a week or two, give or take.
So a good steroid cycle strategy is 8 weeks at a certain dosage, then increase for another 8 weeks, then switch compounds. So a maximum of 16 weeks on one compound.
Well, if it's testosterone, you would run it completely. I'm saying every 6 to 8 weeks switching the compound. So around 6 weeks, what I would do would be up the dose if you were to stay on that compound. Instead of running 8 weeks and then upping it, about 6 weeks, I would either change it, 6 to 8 weeks change it, or around 6 to 8 weeks you would need to up your dose accordingly.
Yeah, so testosterone's a little bit of an exception. Testosterone is something you could run year round versus some of the other compounds you'd add on top of testosterone. Those you'd want to switch out while keeping a testosterone base.
Yeah, you're not trying to just use it for the androgen effect of testosterone. That's a crappy or a bad drug to do that for. There's so many better drugs for it. That's why you only run it for the physiological.
You mean anabolic effect?
Yeah.
Or you mean
yeah, but you're stimulating the androgen receptor as well. There's so many other drugs that are far superior than testosterone that you're just going to get more side effects by adding testosterone.
Like actually SARMs are more effective than testosterone in the muscle cell. See, if you just take a muscle cell and put SARMs in there, they'll actually be more effective at building muscle than the testosterone. The difference is the testosterone affects the entire body, and there are other parts of that impact being anabolic and causing muscle growth. That's why SARMs are called selective androgen receptor modulators. They're selective mostly, not completely, towards muscle and bone. So once we got the base level of testosterone, we've satisfied all of those benefits of our entire body, then we start adding things on top that are more anabolic, that focus more on the muscle cell. Now, in the previous video, you said you didn't personally use any ancillaries with 250 milligrams of testosterone. You didn't even need an estrogen blocker, nothing.
It's not
now,
that I didn't need it.
Once we step up after 8 weeks, if we're going to do a 16-week cycle, if we're going to step up to, and let's talk about testosterone suppression on longer cycles in this video too. But are you going to run ancillaries with it starting in 8 weeks at 500 milligrams of testosterone? Don't we start needing some kind of aromatase inhibitor like exemestane?
Yeah, if you're real susceptible to it, it would be a low dose. If it was exemestane, I'd be running half a dose every other day.
Is that like 12.5 milligrams every other day?
Yeah, that's plenty for that dose, because 500 is still not too much on the side effects, but some people really are susceptible. I know guys that get gyno from 2 mils of test. So especially if you're susceptible, yeah, you need to start thinking about that. Now, around afterwards, the only reason I didn't PCT at the time was I couldn't afford it and I didn't have access to it. That was my only reason for not doing it, but I'd always tell somebody to do it. It's psychologically, not just keeping your gains, but psychologically having that effect on your body is pretty bad, doing this whole up and down thing. And that's why people go into the doctors and they put them on antidepressants, you know, when you could have just fixed the problem rather than mask it.
All right, so if we're going to go past 8 weeks, then we're talking some serious suppression of testosterone. Usually, everybody's different, but usually after 8 weeks, people can usually bounce back their natural testosterone pretty easily with PCT within just a couple weeks. Yeah. But if you go 16 weeks, the suppression of natural testosterone could last a lot longer. Yeah. Now, I've known guys that have come off 16-week cycles and their testosterone bounces back to normal in 2 weeks, like it's nothing, even without PCT. And I've known other guys that their testosterone stays suppressed for 6 months unless they PCT. Yeah. So, any input on that?
Better safe than sorry.
Just run PCT every time.
Yeah, I mean, unless you were going to hop back on in like 3-4 weeks, you know, because it starts to come out of your system. But it's better safe than sorry. You want to keep your gains, you want to keep your body healthy, and you want to stay healthy mentally. And people think, you know, not everyone can handle that, and you think you can, but it does change you. It does change your mood. It affects you. You can start affecting other people in your life and not realize it, and you tell everyone you're fine. And other people can mess with them emotionally too. So,
all right, let's do a quick definition of PCT. Post-cycle therapy is to couple reasons: cleanse the body and to bring back the natural testosterone production and to minimize estrogen while the testosterone's trying to catch up, so our hormones remain balanced. Is the PCT for just a 8 to 16 week testosterone cycle the same as every other cycle, or do you do something less or different?
It would be a little bit less, but it's also to give your organs a break. Your lab work can always tell you you're fine, your cholesterol's always fine, this is fine, but your organs aren't. You know, your organs do need a break from these things, and people don't understand that, and that doesn't necessarily show on your lab work that they're being taxed and overworked. You might have, your enzymes might be fine, but that organ's still being taxed, like your heart. You'll never know that your heart is until you go get EKGs and ultrasounds and whatnot.
So does the classic HCG, Clomid, tamoxifen, aka Nolvadex, combo work fine for an 8 to 16 week testosterone only cycle?
Yeah, and I probably at that point, if it was a low dose, the 1 to 2 mils, I wouldn't even add the tamoxifen. That would be the difference. I would still run the HCG pretty much the same. You can maybe run a little less, but pretty much the same as you would 8 to 16 weeks would be the same. Now, the tamoxifen wouldn't really be necessary, like I said, if it was 1 to 2 mils a test, because your levels weren't skyrocketed that your gyno is going to come out. The Clomid would be just enough that you wouldn't have to worry about that, because the tamoxifen on PCT is, for the most part, is to prevent the gyno while allowing your body to still produce the testosterone from the HCG clomiphene. Because if you were to add letrozole, you're going to stop that.
All right, so what I prefer to do in a cycle like this is to take all of them, HCG, Clomid, and tamoxifen. But I like the tamoxifen because it also sheds all the water. So when you come off, and even though your estrogen's coming up and your testosterone is low, it still keeps you drier and harder, which makes your results more apparent. And then also the Clomid has the increased benefit of increased semen production, semen load, which is kind of a fun trick. And then definitely boosts testosterone. And then I like to run the exemestane at 12.5 milligrams per day during PCT. That way my natural testosterone production, it's not going to be converting to estrogen so much. So I'm minimizing the conversion to estrogen. And then I use the Blue Ox test booster, the Enhanced Athlete Natural Test Booster. And the reason I would have a reason why some of my athletes run all of these things at once is because it only costs $100 anyways for all of this stuff.
That's why I say
combined.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and enhancedathlete.com, it's only $100. So like $100 to actually be able to see all of the gains and prevent losing the muscle and keep you looking dry, that's what I do. But don't take this stuff. This is research chemicals. It's not for human consumption. Only used under doctor's supervision. Be swole and swole, my friends of freedom, pioneers of human evolution.